So once the race was called, what was your emotions? How did you feel?
I thought I was gonna feel like a champion, but I felt relief was the first thing I felt like. Was like, you know, I tell this to people all the time. It hasn't been 5 years is a long time to be stuck in a fight, you know? And people, he's only had 4 years, but he was running for a year before that. So it's like I was at the Trump rally in Chicago where he didn't come and didn't show up. I was right next to you, you know? And it's like you fight this for 5 years continuously and you try to make your point for 5 years continuously. And this country was headed, in my opinion, for a dark place if he would have won. And the fact that Biden, who couldn't campaign properly, who couldn't knock on doors properly, who was facing a pandemic and was facing the biggest misinformation campaign in the history of politics, for him to win, the first thing I felt was like, I could take a break. And it was a little selfish. Like I could sleep on a weekend without worrying that the president committed international, uh, broke international law or tweeted out a conspiracy, you know. And I think what you saw in the streets was relief. It was joy, but it was relief to say we got the monkey off our back. There's a lot of work to do, but we could celebrate right now in this moment because it went from relief to joy at some point for everybody.
Well, I'll tell you, I was on the phone with an elected official, and we were talking about some other things. And the elected official all of a sudden said, oh my God, Kamala won." And I said, "Okay, I gotta go." On Friday, I'd gone ahead and for the congresswoman I represent, I drafted our statement. So of course, within 30 minutes of the race being called, our statement was in everybody's box.
All right.
I'm sure people are thinking, "Wow, that was really, they work fast." No, we worked the day before.
Yeah.
We wrote it out. We knew what the fit was going to be. But that being said, after I did that, I watched. I didn't post immediately online. I was just watching. I was getting really emotional.
Yeah.
I do get emotional. I get emotional about a lot of stuff.
Me too. Yeah.
Put it this way. You know how much I hate the Cubs, right?
Yeah.
If I were at a Cubs game and name one of your favorite stars had a great game and he's getting pulled off the game and he's getting a standing ovation, I'm in tears.
Yeah.
I'm in just because I like that. So you can imagine something like this election, which a
No.
lot of emotion and everything,
Mhm.
and it was just I was not I won't say overcome with emotion. It wasn't overcome with emotion. I was just getting choked up a lot.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I couldn't deal, but it would like everything would trigger me. And I will tell you, the one thing, and I'm gonna go back 12 years. The one thing, and I still get emotional talking about this. I lived in Hyde Park at the same time Barack was running, and Barack was living in Hyde Park. And so I'm a logistics fan,
Hmm.
with
Yeah.
everything moving. So I always paid attention to the motorcade. So we're in Grant Park the night of the election, and we remember seeing states come in, and the crowd is getting nuts, going nuts, and with everyone we're celebrating. And when they called it, we were celebrating, and people were crying. I didn't get emotional. I'll tell you when I lost it. There's a big screen television, and there, all these different shots, and what they had a camera trained on Lakeshore Drive, and you see Barack's motorcade coming down Lakeshore Drive, and
This
it
is like, by
wasn't
the
to
way,
say,
this is like 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that,
no,
right?
no, this is like 9 or 10. Remember that was an early call. They
Well, it was
called
one of
that
the
race
biggest
early.
blowouts. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they called that race
No, but
early.
I know he has to protocol where he didn't come out right away. He just took his
Right, right,
time a
right.
little bit.
So this is like 10 o'clock,
Yeah,
and the motorcade's coming down the street, and I knew what the motorcade looked like,
yeah,
but it looked different this time. You could tell it was the president's motorcade.
yeah.
It was literally the president's motorcade, and that's when I lost it. Everyone else lost it when Barack
One,
won.
yeah,
I lost it when I saw those lights. And you know what? Now, I think Biden got an ambulance early, but one of the biggest difference for Barack was when Barack was just a candidate, he didn't have an ambulance in his motorcade. And that night, his motorcade had an
yeah,
ambulance. And I was like, oh my God, this is real.
yeah.
And so on Saturday when it happened, I was just, overcome, excited. The historical significance of the first woman,
Mhm.
not the first African American woman, but the first woman. Think about it. Normally, the first African American woman or the first South Asian woman means that there was another woman
Yeah,
before, and this is just the first one of that
yeah,
demographic. No, Kamala's the first woman.
yeah.
And it was just great last night. It was great the way that they staged it. But throughout the whole counting process, and this is where Trump is really screwing up. Biden's been president probably since, I'd say, mid-October.
Yeah, I
There's
agree.
just the way he's carrying himself.
Yeah,
There's a way that when he speaks, you're like, that's the president
yeah,
speaking.
yeah,
And when the legal president is speaking, you're like, who's this clown?
yeah.